The famine continues to rage on, and Jacob is forced to send his sons back to Egypt along with Benjamin. Joseph allows the brothers to buy more food, but has one final test for them. Will they pass this test? Will Joseph reveal who he actually is? Let's find out. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Telly Talks Bible. Where we last left off, Joseph's brothers had returned to Jacob. And upon returning, they discovered that their silver and everything was still with them, even after they bought the food. Also, Simeon was left behind as a prisoner. They tell Jacob, Israel, their father, what all has transpired. And Jacob doesn't take it too well. He starts saying that the world and everything is against him because he's lost Joseph, that Simeon is now lost because he's in prison, and now that they're trying to take Benjamin away from him. But the famine continues, and it's severe, and they begin to run out of food. So Jacob has no choice but to allow them to take Benjamin with them and go back in search of more food. So I'm going to open up and start. This is chapter 43 of Genesis, and it's going to begin. Now the famine was still severe in the land, so when they had eaten all the grain they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back and buy us a little more food." But Judah said to him, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we will not go down, because the man said to us, You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.'" Israel asked, "Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "The man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. 'Is your father still living?' he asked us. 'Do you have another brother?' We simply answered his questions. How were we to know he would say, 'Bring your brother down here'?" Then Judah said to Israel, his father, "Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we had not delayed, we could have gone and returned twice." So now we see that Jacob, Israel, is wanting more food. But they tell him, "Hey, we can't do this if we don't take Benjamin." And Judah is stepping up saying, "Hey, I will do this. I will guarantee you Benjamin's safety. If not, I will bear the guilt all my life." And he also states that if you would just let us do this already, we would have been there and back twice. If you would stop being so stubborn and just allow us to take Benjamin with us. And he's also saying that if you don't let us take him, then we're just not going to go. Because what Joseph had told them was, "You will not see my face again unless your younger brother is with you." So let's see how Israel is going to respond. Then their father Israel said to them, "If it must be, then do this. Put some of your best products of the land in your bags and take them down to the man as a gift. A little balm, a little honey, some spices, and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that was put back into the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once, and may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved." So what's going on here now is Israel's breaking down. He's like, "Just do it. We got to do it." And he's telling them, "Hey, you got to pay back what was taken." Because when they got back, they realized all their silver was there. So he's saying, "Hey, take double the amount with you. Take all these gifts, and a lot of these gifts are probably going to resonate with Joseph, or they will resonate with Joseph because it's stuff that he, knew growing up. This is stuff that they just, produced on their own. So it's going to be, if you will, nostalgic, is what we would use today. So he's telling them, "Go ahead, go, because we won't survive unless you do." We'll pick up back on verse 15. So the men took the gifts and doubled the amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Take these men to my house. Slaughter an animal and prepare a meal. They are to eat with me at noon." The man did as Joseph told him and took the men to Joseph's house. Now the men were frightened when they were taken to his house. They thought, "We were brought here because of the silver that was put back into our sacks the first time. He wants to attack us and overpower us and seize us as slaves and take our donkeys." So they went up to Joseph's steward and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. "We beg your pardon, our lord," they said. "We came down here the first time to buy food, but at the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks and each of us found his silver, the exact weight, in the mouth of his sack. So we have brought it back with us. We have also brought additional silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put our silver in our sacks." "It's all right," he said. "Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." Then he brought Simeon out to them. So they're frightened now, worried for their life. Um, Joseph is still, he's kind of using like an interpreter. He's not really speaking his own voice. Um, it kind of makes mention of that, back the first time when the brothers are talking amongst themselves and they don't think Joseph can understand them, but he does, because he's been using an interpreter to talk back and forth with them. Uh, and so now they're made aware that we knew all along, your God, the God of your father, has blessed you with the treasure. We're giving you food and allowing you to keep the silver. And now they're in his house, and they're like, Simeon's coming out. So that's what the next verse is going to talk about. They're going to the house, and Simeon's going to be there. Let's see. Let me just pick up on 24. Back up here on 24. The steward took the men into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon, because they had heard that they were to eat there. When Joseph came home, they presented the gifts that they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. Second time they bowed down to him. He asked them how they were, and then he said, "How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still living?" They replied, "Your servant, our father, is still alive and well." And they bowed down, prostrating themselves before him. Bowing down again. As he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to weep. He went into his private room and wept there. So now we see all the brothers for the first time are all back together. And Joseph's trying to find out more information, like his father well, and things of that nature. And also, we see here that the dreams are coming to fruition that he was telling them about, that they would bow down to him. And they have now bowed down to him multiple times, like his dream suggested would happen. It was foreshadowing what was to come later in the narrative. Also, the sight of Benjamin just really hit him. That's his true flesh and blood. That's his full brother. All the rest of them, they're brothers, but they're half brothers. So, even today, like if you got a full blooded brother, you're still brother even if you're half. But if you got the same mother and father, it's just the connection is a lot stronger, especially back in these times. So he couldn't keep it together. He had to rush out and weep. This is now a second time now that we see that he is overcome with emotion. But he manages to rush out, get away from them so they don't see him, and pulls himself back together. So that picks back up on 31 here. After he had washed his face, he came out and, controlling himself, said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, and the brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, for that is detestable to the Egyptians. The men had been seated before him in order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else. So they feasted and drank freely with him. So that finishes up that chapter, and they're all having a feast together. They're all eating together, and it's going to talk about some cultural differences there. Even Joseph, because he's been in Egypt for so long, is eating by himself. Because the elite Egyptians, such as him, uh, they would just eat on their own. And others, they had to be separated from the rest of everyone there because it was a cultural thing that they would not. They thought the Hebrews were beneath them, so they wouldn't. They didn't want to be seen eating with them. So they continued, and it tells you right here that Joseph's like, "Hey, give that youngest one there 5 times." It's showing favoritism towards his own brother, his full brother. Now we're going to go on to chapter 44, and this is going to be another test for the brothers to see if they've changed, if they are, you know, feel the same way they did when they did what they did to Joseph when they sold him into slavery. He wants to see if they're still wicked. I'm going to go ahead and start. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill them in a sack with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, Go after those men at once. And when you catch up with them, say to them, Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from, and also use it for divination? This is wicked thing you have done. When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them. But they said to him, Why does my lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouth of our sacks. So why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my lord's slaves. So Joseph now has laid this out before them to see what would happen. He's put this cup of divination. It doesn't really say that Joseph actually used it, because it was supposed to be something used to decide the will of the gods. And we all know that Joseph is true to God, Yahweh. That's who he is a servant of. And it's even been stated the Pharaoh believes this. So he puts it in the sack of Benjamin because they know that Benjamin is the youngest, and he's basically wanting to see if they're going to sacrifice Benjamin to save themselves. So this is all a ploy to see what's going to happen. So let's continue on. Verse 10. Very well, then, he said. Let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame. Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, What is this you have done? Don't you know that a man like me can find things out by divination? What can we say to my lord? Judah replied. What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves, we ourselves, and the one who was found to have the cup. But Joseph said, Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace. Then Judah went up to him and said, Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My lord asked his servant, Do you have a father or a brother? And he answered, We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him. Then you said to your servant, Bring him down to me so I can see him for myself. And now we have done to my lord. The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die. But you told your servant, Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my lord had said. Then our father said, Go back and buy a little more food. But we said, We cannot go down. Only if our youngest brother is with us will we go. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Your servant, my father, said to us, You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me. And I said, He has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery. So this is Judah. He's going off. speaking on what has happened to Joseph and what his father, Jacob, Israel, has said to him, telling him that if this happens, our father will die. If you take Benjamin away from us, our father is as good as dead. Saying that he already has lost his wife, his firstborn son with that wife, and now he's got Benjamin, who he had in his old age. If he loses this son, it's going to kill him. And he just talks about, hey, you said if we bring him here, then this would happen, and he just basically reinstating everything that's been going on in the previous chapter. So I'm going to pick back up on verse 30. So now, if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servants will bring the gray head of our father down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please, let your servant remain here as my lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come on my father. Now Judah is offering up himself. He's saying that I'm responsible for my younger brother. If I do not return with him, I can't face my father. For he will die. I will, be responsible for all the blame. He's now sacrificing himself for this brother, saying, take me instead, let him go back, so my father may live on. Now, if we remember back when they were getting ready, they were plotting to kill Joseph and everything else. And we know Reuben stepped in and said, let's not do that. Let's throw him in the cistern and everything. It was Judah who came up and said, hey, he's our brother. Let's not shed his blood. But instead, let's sell him into slavery. So Judah actually came up with the idea that led Joseph to being in the position he's at. But if you think about it, this isn't really his doing either. The Lord has put Joseph where he needs to be. So I'm going to finish up this chapter 45. It's like 28 verses long. And this will be Joseph part 3. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants. And he cried out, Have everyone leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him. And Pharaoh's household heard him and heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one who you sold into Egypt. And now, do not distress and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now, there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So right here, he's telling them, don't be angry at yourself for what you did. Don't feel regret. Don't feel shame. Don't be distressed about it. He's telling them, hey, this was all God's plan. I went through all these trials and everything else to be right here in order to save lives. If they hadn't did what they did, Joseph would have never ended up in Egypt. Joseph would have never interpreted the dreams of the Pharaoh in the first place in order to devise a plan in order to prepare for the 7 years of famine. So he's telling his brothers, the Lord sent me ahead of you so that I could prepare this place for y'all. So let's continue on here. So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all of Egypt. Come down to me. Don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. You, your children, and your grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there. Because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen. And bring my father down here quickly." Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept. And Benjamin embraced him, weeping. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them afterwards. His brothers talked with him. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, do this: load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy fat of the land." You are also directed to tell them, "Do this: take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours." So Joseph's fully told them, "Hey, pack your bags, move to Egypt." And the Pharaoh was on board. Pharaoh was excited, saying, "His brothers are here. Let's get them here. Let's get them moved in." He's even telling them, "Hey, don't worry about your stuff. When you get here, you're going to have things that are way better than whatever you thought you had." So they're telling them, "Bring your wives, bring your children, get your father up here, bring everybody." I'm going to pick back up on verse 21. So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them the carts as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way." So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt." Jacob was stunned, and he did not believe them. But when they told him everything that Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of the father, Jacob, revived. And Israel said, "I am convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." So now the brothers have returned to Jacob, told him everything that's unfolded, and bring proof. They sent well, you know, abundance of things they needed for travel to move all these the people. I don't know why I can't talk right now. They sent enough provisions to help move all these people back. Like I said, that's going to wrap it up for Joseph Part 3. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, God bless.